So, welcome to another edition of the Feel Fully Alive Again podcast with your host, me, Tony Wolfe Sibbald. And today we have a very special treat. We have our first guest that we're going to be interviewing, someone who's very special to me. Name is Michael Philpott, and I'm going to read this so that I get this right. Michael is a psychic medium and has given life readings to people in Canada, the US, Europe, and the Caribbean. Michael's a Reiki Master with over 20 years with clinical experience and teaches intuitive energy interpretation and is a classically trained chef. I did not know that.
A lot of people
And
don't.
a former personal trainer, which I did not know that, and is the host of the very popular and very cool podcast called the Metaphysical Mentor Show. So, Michael, thank you so much for joining us today.
No, thank you, Tony. Yeah, I mean, of course, you've been on my show. So, yeah, I mean, definitely was very happy to have you on the show today, too, as well. And thanks for having me on your show.
Woo! Yeah, we're gonna have some fun today. We've had two good meetings already. This is my first time doing the interviewing, so I'm a little nervous, but that's okay because we have to get over our fears, right? So
Yeah,
I want to share with you a little bit in case you haven't heard any of our previous podcasts. That was what Michael sent me to introduce him. I just want to tell you that this is a gentleman with a huge heart. He is one of the kindest people that I've ever met, and he always goes out of his way to help people. He's a great person. And, he's always trying new things and doing new things. And I'm learning things today about him that I didn't know. So, for this being my first podcast, I couldn't think of anybody else that I would rather have on it. And the first thing I want to talk about, and then we'll go into some deeper stuff, is I'd
sure.
like for you to tell us, please, exactly like what do you do as a psychic medium and teaching intuitive energy interpretations? Like, what do you do? How did you get into it? Just please let us know. It's so interesting.
Well, as far as the psychic mediumship stuff is, I've always been very intuitive. I just never knew I was intuitive. I always tell everybody, I always thought I was crazy. I just thought there was something wrong with me. I couldn't figure out things. Why am I feeling all these things? And it wasn't until I actually started practicing Reiki. And like I always say, Reiki was my gateway drug. It opened me up and my intuitive ability started I started knowing more stuff about that. So, but at the same time, I needed some training. So I went to a lady here in Toronto area and I started training with her. And she told me that, oh, yeah, you got some serious gifts. So, you want some training? So that's basically how the kind of a very Cole's Note version of how I started getting into that. But the
Let
readings,
me
it's,
let
yeah.
me just ask, like, though she says you have some gifts. Like, what does that mean? Because I have a lot of clients who come in who have been told they have gifts, who feel they have gifts. So what is it like? What does it mean? How did you experience? What did she see?
Okay, so basically, when we talk about gifts, so basically we're talking about the extrasensory perceptions, or some people will call them the clairs. So, like your clairvoyancy. So, basically, it's your five senses, but it's just a heightened version of it. So, you have your clairaudient, which is you can hear, your clairsentience, which you can sense things, your claircognizance, which you know things. You don't know why you know, but you know these things. You also have your clairvoyancy, so actually you can see things. So you can actually see spirit, you can see energy patterns in individuals, things like that. So there's a variety of different areas that some people are more attuned to than others. But we all have these gifts. It's just that we haven't awakened to them. And as you become more spiritual, your gifts start to open up. And that's usually most times as you've been, attuning people with Reiki, their gifts are going to start opening up. So whether it's clairvoyancy, clairaudiency, their empathic abilities could open up. So their claircognizance, all of a sudden they start to know things about their clients or just know things about people in general. So those are the gifts. So my gifts were basically all the clairs. So all my clairs opened up kind of simultaneously. So it was kind of overwhelming because then I was just getting all this input and I didn't understand it. So that's why the training was so important. And then also one of the other gifts was mediumship. So I was able to connect with spirit on the other side. And that was the other part of the gifts.
And that's so cool because I mean I admit I used to be, I don't know, it used to freak me out a little bit. That kind of thought, the mediumship and talking to the other side. And And I would sort of send stuff, but I would push it away. I would push it away. And if I ever felt like a spirit or something in the night, I'd say, go see my wife, because she was good at, that kind of stuff. Like, I was like, it freaked me out. So I kind of I held a little barrier around me. I didn't even want to know from people who did it until I met someone, and I guess all my fear dissipated. So I think that's great that you can do that, to reach out and connect people. So, like, who do you work with, and what do you help them with?
I work with all types of people. There's no one in particular. It's usually people what I call they're on their path. They're looking for help on their journey, right? Because life as a human on this earth is one struggle after another for a lot of us. It's a daily grind and trying to figure this out, trying to figure out what my life purpose is. What am I here? What am I doing? So a lot of these larger questions that we have inside of us. A lot of people are struggling to find a sense of purpose, a sense of who they are, a sense of healing too, as well, and understanding that. So a lot of times what the readings are basically on an in-depth level of looking at the soul and your journey on this earth and just how to help you on a variety of different areas. So we look at it a holistic way, look at physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual aspects. Your physical body might be good, but your mental and emotional states are off. So we'll look at what's causing that. We'll look at the root cause. So we go very in depth. We look at the overall picture. I have my spirit team on the other side. They dictate the reading to me. So I'm just kind of like a vehicle for basically they're downloading it. And it gets downloaded pretty quick and very dramatically. And it just basically, we look at some of the stumbling blocks that may need you. It's basically, I'm just opening the door for them to go through it, to find a sense of purpose, healing. It can be tremendously healing. And there's some aspects of it that a lot of people were not sure about what they want to do in their life. They're coming to a point, and I think a lot of people are waking up to that. Okay, things are not working. Why are things not working? So that's kind of the purpose of the readings and what I do. It's a very in-depth. It's not a very superficial readings like some people will talk about psychics. It's like, oh, I'm going to go to psychic to find this out. No, I'm not that type of psychic. We go into stuff. We look at certain gifts or things. We look at what we call life themes. So every individual has a life theme, and they'll go through that in their life. That may be a certain thing that they need to work on. For example, let's say take one, trust. Trust may be a big life theme for individuals, to trust in themselves in their decision making, but also to have trust in others. So that just knowing those type of things could really just open up the doorways to their sense of well-being and healing and understanding of themselves. And all it is just basically spirit just gives me the breadcrumbs, and I just lay them out, and I just allow and empower people to follow those breadcrumbs to help them on the journey. So that's kind of what that's really all about.
So giving people some feedback, some guidance, some deeper understanding into things they've been feeling, wondering about. When I was studying with a shaman last year, he talked about the difference between a shaman who will go deep when they work with someone, and the mediumship versus, he said, some people could just go to like a fortune teller, and he says they're not accessing all the layers of information that they need to access, and so they're not getting the real information they need. And it sounds to me like that you are doing exactly what he said a real shaman would do, which is go on that journey and be able to access all the levels to really help someone.
Yeah, and that's basically exactly it. A lot of people will just want superficial stuff, but more and more people are going more deeper. There's just this sense of urgency within individuals now. Like there is this rising of consciousness, and a lot of people, they're not understanding how to navigate it. They've got all these things happening with them. They can't figure out, why am I so miserable? What's going on with my life? And it's just giving them the understanding and the tools just to help them on their journey. And that's basically what I do. I just kind of say, hey, this is what's going on. If you want to drink the Kool-Aid with the rest of us, hey, not a problem. Come on. Now let me pour you a cup.
And, I think I found that the world has really changed since the start of COVID. Now here in the clinic, I used to see people used to come in with all sorts of different conditions, all sorts of different emotions, but now pretty much everybody's just drained. they're anxious, they're scared, they're stuck, they're lost, and feeling divided, feeling isolated. And I think that that's forced people to spend a lot more time alone with their thoughts, to wonder more things, to research more things. And I think that maybe that's helped contribute to this awakening, is that life slowed down for a little bit and allowed us to actually tap into ourselves. Have
Yeah.
you noticed any difference since the start of COVID, sort of in that sense yourself, or is it just me?
No. It's exactly that. Times of crisis really have a way of looking inwards and an introspect. You have to go inwards because the external world is kind of shut down for you. So you don't have the external stimulus to distract you from the truth of who you really are. And when you have to sit with that person, most times people don't like that person they're sitting with. So that's why we do all these different things to avoid the uckiness or the darkness that sometimes that needs to become healed. And when you have no choice, but when life forces you to sit and be by yourself, most people can't handle being by themselves. And we have all these great distractions out there, and then COVID was a very kind of awakening to, okay, yeah, there's a lot of stuff that I'm not happy with. So there was a lot of blessings in COVID and a lot of other things, and it really helps people to realign themselves with who they are. It's just we're truly never alone physically, because we're in individual, I like to call them meat suits, and that's why we feel the separateness. But if you go really deep and internal, there is a definitely connection to the divine, and once you have that divine connection, you're never alone. You're really not. It's really what they always talk about the illusion. And it's our just our animal bodies just wanting that. But we also, as spirit, as people, who we are, we crave contact, we crave connection, stuff like that. That's who we're all about, is connection. And when you don't have that connection, you start to wonder why I don't have those things.
Yeah, there's a lot of loneliness in the world right now, I think. A
Yeah,
lot of people
100%.
feel alone,
Yeah.
and they
It
don't have to.
sucks.
Mhm.
Yeah. I've been getting a lot of DMs for people who are kind of reaching out to me about the podcast, and they live in a world where an openness to spirituality and a raising of consciousness is not available to them, and they feel very isolated, but even within their peer groups, their families, their work environments, and it just gives them a sense of community, that they can reach out and feel like, okay, I'm not alone. I'm not going batshit crazy. This is what's going on. So yeah, there is that sense of loneliness on a lot of different ways. So if you're listening to this right now and you're feeling like you're alone, you're really not. It's just about finding the group of people that you can relate to, that makes sense to on some level or another.
And you speak to people. I know that you work with people globally. You speak with people across the world. As do I. Do you find that the problems, like, there's no separate problems? Everybody, no matter where they live, they're going through the same stuff, right?
Yeah, we're a global community. There really is no difference between somebody over in Australia or somebody in Europe or in the US. We're all going through the similar things. It just, depending on where you live in the world, certain things are going to be heightened and a little more dramatic. And so, yeah, if you look at the world now, like certain areas that have more conflict, right? So of course, there's going to be a lot more things happening in an area that has a lot of conflict, but there's conflict everywhere. It's just different levels of it, just the extreme levels of what's happening. But yeah, the problems are the same. We're all human beings. We're all interconnected on a spiritual level. So what affects us here is also affecting somebody over in Europe, any conflict zones, things like that. We're all interconnected. We just feel separate from that because I live in another country, but we're really not. So
Yeah, and it all depends what the media decides to show you, allow you to see or not. What you're aware of. But in the Tao and Taoism, we're all part of the Tao. It's this universal energy. You have whatever you want to call it, a connection to heaven, to God, to the universe. We're all connected, and the energy that flows through me flows through the birds, flows through you. And so we are truly, yeah, truly never alone. Truly never alone. when you decided, like, because I know I was just speaking with someone yesterday who had listened to your podcast, one with me in it. So she came to see me, but I said, well, so how do you know Michael? She goes, well, I was just on YouTube and I saw him. And I said, I know that guy. She couldn't place it. And then she remembered that she saw you on TV. So when you're a celebrity on television, but it's just so funny how the world works, and it connects us. And she saw this, she remembered this, it brought her here, it brought her here. It's an amazing the way the world works. So you were in television, you did personal training. When did you decide to move into this more full time? Like, because that's a question a lot of my clients have. There's things they want to do, but they also have a full time job. How did you make the decision? When did you know that the time was right?
Well, it was, I guess the universe decided for me. I like to say that when things kind of collapse around you, it gives you an opportunity. So there was a lot of loss prior from my decision. Now I've been doing readings, and again, I've been practicing Reiki. I don't really practice that much anymore or teach, but the readings I was just doing basically once in a while. I had friends of a friend that needed a reading. I would do it, but I was still kind of in the psychic closet. I wasn't really fully embraced in this field. I was just kind of still sticking my toe in it. I wasn't really sure of it. Because I thought I was supposed to doing one thing, and then the universe said, yeah, no. So I had lost a job prior to COVID, and it was kind of like my parachute job. I was really excited about it, and then I had a loss, and then I had another loss. I lost my stepbrother, and it was just all these losses, and then COVID hit. So there was like all this loss. So it's like, all right, what am I going to do? And everybody and my friends are saying, well, this is a perfect opportunity to start your business, start doing readings again, and start doing it full time. And it's like, I was like, what can I lose? I've been losing so much. Like, okay, let's kind of go into it. So with a lot of help with some friends and some encouragement, I just kind of just said, yeah, fuck it. And I just went out there, and, once I decide on something, I kind of just go for it. And I just decided, yeah, okay, I'm going to feel my fears, because there's a lot of fears and trepidations about kind of exposing yourself. Okay, this is who I really am. And because I still thought the idea that I may be doing my old work, working in television, I thought maybe if my clients knew that I was doing this, I would have no more clients. And interestingly enough, I had some of my clients find out, and it wasn't as bad as I thought it was. It wasn't that big fear. And they were like, really? I heard this from you. And I heard this, you were doing readings, and oh my God, I can't believe you were doing readings. And I was like, okay, so you do know about this. And he goes, oh yeah. You're amazing. I heard so much good things about you. And it's like, okay, I don't know why I was fearing all this, but the universe just kind of puts things in your way to allow things to happen. And it was an opportunity. And I just thought, okay, if I'm ever going to be doing this kind of work, there was a calling to it. There was a little bit, but it was more hesitation and fear more than anything that was really stopping me from this. I could have been doing it earlier prior to COVID, but there were just a lot of lessons and things that I needed to learn in order for me to get to this point, and just continuing.
Things will happen when they're ready, right? And
Exactly.
I think that, when you started your podcast and started doing these things, started doing the readings more, do you feel that it was, because this is what it felt like for me when I left the commercial world, when I left the business world to do this, I felt like I could rip off this mask that I'd been wearing, where I had to try to appear to be someone to the rest of the world, even though my soul, and I didn't even know it, was calling me for me to do this. But the moment that I made the announcement, I remember I was just walking down the street downtown Hamilton, and I made the announcement that this is what I'm going to be doing for life. And it was like the most freeing experience. Did you experience anything like that when you made that decision to do this?
Actually, no.
No,
I did not feel a sense. I felt more apprehensive. There was
I'm
more.
going to edit this part out.
No, don't. No, this is the truth. This is really, don't edit this out. This is.
I'm just joking.
Yeah, but I didn't feel that sense of elation or joy or things. It was just more like it was just like there was just this urge to push forward. I still don't understand it. It's still kind of this urge, but there wasn't this liberation like, oh my God, I'm finally doing what I'm supposed to be doing. Because I've learned in my life that once I decide or think that I know where I'm going, I get redirected, and I get redirected hard. And it's usually not in a very exciting way I get redirected. So I just try to edge on the air of caution. So I don't get too excited, but I'm grateful for the journey, and I just keep moving. I just like somebody's kind of giving me this kind of push and slowly nudge. Sometimes the universe will kick me and I'll fall down and I'll have to get myself back up, and then I'll have to keep moving forward. But it's always in a forward direction. And yeah, things are keep evolving as I speak now. Like, things have changed too as well. So the joy is part of the expression of who I'm finding, still trying to figure out who I am. There's still layers to it, and that's what I'm still kind of rediscovering. So there isn't that sense of joy. There's more of a kind of, like I say, this little angst and kind of push that's happening at this present time.
Sure, and there will always be
Yeah.
that when you try
Yeah.
something new. I just
Mhm.
felt, I guess maybe a relief, like just a weight lift off my shoulders, because I had always been hesitant to let people know what I did up until that point. Because when I was a financial advisor, they made me keep everything under wraps. They didn't
Sure.
want me to talk about it. So it was just kind of a nice relief for me. But I'm really proud of you for listening to yourself and allowing your friends to help you, because a lot of people don't allow help.
Yeah, and that's one of the lessons I've learned over the last little while is to ask for help. I think
Mhm.
it's a difficult thing, and I think for men in general, we're not used to asking for help, and that's one of the things that is so detrimental to ourselves. I think is the inability to help, because that by asking for help, that may show weakness, and I think that's a big thing in general. I've talked to other men about that, is just the ability to ask for help. Like, okay, and it's a really struggle. It was a lesson that I struggled with, and I still struggle with a little bit. I still want to be independent, but I realize there are a lot of times I couldn't do things on my own, so I needed
Mhm.
help. And my friends were already kind of doing this type of work, so it was like, okay, what do I need to do? Okay, do this. Oh, okay, what do I do? And it's just a matter of taking action once you have an idea. And that was one of the great things about them. They're always kind of being my biggest cheerleader. And you know I think one of the other thing too is just developing a confidence in yourself, because if it's something new, you're always going to be a little hesitant on your abilities and what you're doing. But as you do it more, you just become more confident. Then it becomes a second nature to yourself. But yeah, that was one of the things. Yeah, is asking for help.
Yeah, beautiful. So having more confidence in yourself, and also being able to say, I don't fucking care.
Yeah.
I don't fucking care what anybody else thinks, right?
I've really gone that direction. I've gone a little too hardcore, and maybe gone a little too extreme. But yeah, I certainly don't. I don't give a shit anymore what other people think or what's going on. The only real opinion that matters is between myself and my creator, and that's really all that matters.
Yeah, it's your life, you're living it, and you have to live with it. So I know that, we've both had our challenges. I had, when you talk about receiving help and stuff. So I had early in my life, I lost my daughter. I fell into depression. I had heart problems, and I was pretty like my body crashed, and I was pretty spent, and I needed help from my family to kind of get through it. And I know that I saw on social media one day that you posted that you were diagnosed with cancer, and I wonder if you would take some time and just sort of talk about, because I feel that all diseases are just, they're cropping up more and more these days. I feel it. And I think more people are going through what I went through, what you've been through, and they just need some help. So if you would like to share a little bit of, like, when you received the news, like, how did you feel? How did you handle it? What did you do when you first found out about that?
Oh, I cried like a baby.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, I I had this moment where I just kind of broke down. It finally was like the last nail, because my life has been a series of losses and a lot of heartache and a lot of pain. So I was just used to shitty things happen to me. So it wasn't like a normal thing, but it was like the last one. And I couldn't, it was like, fuck, really? I just got over all this other stuff, and now you're hitting me with this. Like, I just got over it. And that's kind of where my life was. I get over something, I accomplish something, I move through something, and then bam, something that will knock me down again. So yeah, the diagnosis was, yeah, it was really challenging. It was, of course, you're going to go through all the different things in your mind, because, nobody wants to get the diagnosis when your doctor goes, oh, by the way, you've got cancer, you got neck and throat cancer. It's starting to get pretty aggressive. So we got to go at this thing. So yeah, it was devastating news. I'm not going to lie. I was a little bit afraid, but
Sure.
but there was a flip side to it, because I've been through so many hardships and I've had so many other illnesses. I kind of knew what was going to be expected. I kind of been through the hospital treatment, recovery things before. So I've had this experience before, just not as grave and as the urgency, but I've been through it before. So I did rely on that. And so, and then plus also too, is that I kind of already had a stronger network around me that I could
Hmm.
rely on. And I just had to be willing enough to open up and to ask for the help and ask for things. And a lot of my judgments, my fears and stuff like that were null and void. Things people I thought that would not help me were my biggest supporters. There were a lot of positive notes to it, but yeah, it's only been, well, right now it's this time last year I was in treatment. So it's been about 9 months now, 10 months now since I got out of treatment. But yeah, yeah, there's just so many weird things when it comes to going through a cancer diagnosis and treatment. I mean, that could be just a whole 3 hours just on that. But yeah, it's messed up. It's crazy. There is a lot of people. I have so many in my close circle of friends that were diagnosed with cancer and were going through cancer with me at the same time. Unfortunately, one of my friends, she didn't make it. She had a 5-year battle with it. She didn't make it, which was terrible news, because she was kind of one of my what we call cancer buddies.
Hmm.
We kind of sit there and said, hey, we're going to get through this together. And she was an amazing human being, and it was very devastating to know that she didn't make it through it. And so it really wrung hard on me. Another friend of mine, she went through breast cancer. She's on the other side of it now, which was great. But there was, like you're saying, there's a lot of people, and especially people who we call ourselves spiritual light workers, are all going through these tremendous health issues and crisis. And I just think it's just on a deeper level. It's, if you had to think about it philosophically, it's just a way of us kind of going through and learning more about our soul's evolution and what it's really about. It's such a complex disease, and it fundamentally affects not just you, but the people around you too as well.
Hmm. But you had a good support system. I mean, if someone was diagnosed with some sort of ailment, a heart problem, a neurological problem, a cancer or something, what would you suggest? Like, what would you tell them? Because they're
Well,
afraid, they're afraid and they don't know what
yeah,
to do.
okay. Yeah. So, yeah, you're going to go through a mixed bag of emotions. You're going to go up and down. You're going to go through the grieving process, right? So, you're going to go, like, just think about it as like a loss. So, you're going to grieve, you're going to go in denial, you're going to get anger. There's all these different mixed emotions. It's just similar if you were allowed to kind of lose somebody. So, there's this idea that you're going to go into the why am I getting this? And you get into a victim mode. And that's when you become a little bit weaker. You have to take responsibility for what's happening with yourself. You really have to kind of, it's a mental game. It's really the disease. You have to mentally fortify yourself with knowing you have to combat this with on a mental level. And it's very much a strong mental level. Sure, the physical body will take care of itself, but you have
Mhm.
to mentally be resilient than you think you are. When your shit hits the fan, it's a surprising what the human body will endure. and with the mental aspect too as well. When you understand that the body is so resilient and it can bounce back so quickly, then you can start to understand, okay, yeah, surround yourself with good people. Like, this is one of the things that it's really important now, that you have to have a good support system. Now, people to say that if they don't have a good support system, there is a lot of other networks and things and people out there that will support you. A lot of the different foundations, like the cancer support centers, there's a lot of, good people who are volunteering to help out. There's a lot of information. So you have to ask questions. You have to, ask for help and lead you in the right direction. So if you're having heart and stroke is another great foundation. There's a lot of these great things out there, and organizations will help people in certain needs. So if you don't have a close proximity of people around you, and then it's really surprisingly now, there's a lot of, let's say, a lot of misconception with the allopathic system of care. There are some great individuals also too that work in the hospitals you can ask for help and ask for things like that. It's the support system around it, not necessarily your doctors, because they have an agenda sometimes. And one of the things I had to do is I had to fight for my own well-being. I had to ask the questions. I had to be assertive. I didn't want to be a pushover on certain things. I had to be pushed back and ask questions. If you don't understand concepts, have somebody come in with you to help you walk through the treatments and understanding what's going on. Just don't accept everything on face value. But the thing is, know that you're not alone and you're greater than your disease. Like, the disease itself is like, it's really kind of, and I hate to say this, it's like a learning lesson on an extreme level. And there's always a purpose and understanding of that. So I looked at my cancer the cancer was the old me, and the treatment was killing off of the old me, of letting go of that. So I kind of looked at that on a deeper philosophical. It was the ending of an old me. That was all those things that, I like to call all the darkness that just manifested into the disease. And I thought I was working on, and I thought it healed, but apparently I needed a little more extreme measures on it. So it just gives you an opportunity to go within yourself and find out truly who you are. And it's going to suck. I'm not going to lie. Going through this, they're going to have days where you hate yourself, you hate the world. There are going to be days where you go into depression. There are going to be days where you think that you don't want to be here anymore. And they're all valid, and you have to honor those things. And it's okay to feel like shit. It's okay to feel angry. It's okay to feel upset and sad and worried and fearful. You're going to feel those things. And God knows I still fear those things once in a while. Those emotions still come up. But I just learned to understand them and sit with them and move through them. And I realized that they're not me. They're just part of me processing the dis-ease. Do I not have all the answers? No. But there are so many different things you can do. I mean, I'm not an expert. I'm not a physician. There are a lot of things I would have done differently in my treatment, post-treatment too, as well. But for the most part, yeah, you really have to find people willing to help you. And there really are amazing people. You're not alone in this. That's the one thing. That's the big lie. You're not alone in this. There's so many great organizations of people around you that can help you through this.
And just reaching out over the internet, there's all sorts of communities. There's all sorts of different things. And just that it's okay to reach out to people. And the other thing I want to talk about is, I feel in Chinese medicine, it's the building up of emotions and stuff that causes a lot of diseases. And I know that, when we lost our daughter, I was so angry and so sad, and I didn't know I had to release it. And that's what affected my body and caused my heart issues and stuff. And so that's why it's so important. I try not to preach, but I preach that no one's coming to save you, right? We've been taught just to rely that it's okay to get sick because then Western medicine will cure you, right? Or they're going to give you this pill or that pill. But no one's coming to save you. No one cares about your health as much as you do. And so don't wait until it gets to the point where you get cancer or you get, heart problems, if you can help it, right? Take care of yourself. We're too busy we don't, I know so many people who are beautiful people who say that they're self-described givers and they're always giving to others, but they never take a
Yeah.
moment to just stop and to receive.
Yeah, there's so much of that. It's just it's an epidemic problem, or this imbalance of not able to receive and to be worthy of receiving.
Mhm.
A lot of people have this fear: if I don't give, no one will love me. And if I'm not giving 100% of myself to other people, they won't love me back. And it's just a learned negative behavior of a kind of a messed up childhood, that we learn these things. And to understand these wounds is about other people, but it's also about reflecting back in ourselves. And the one lie that you have to let go of is that you're not worthy of receiving and that you
Yeah.
deserve goodness. We all do. And that's the freaking problem, is that we have to come to a point where in your life that you are worthy of love. And love is the glue of the universe. It's the why we were created in the first place. It is the very essence of our being is love. And to understand that love and to have that come in, and we always think love in conditional ways because that's how we're taught. It's a very transactional thing. But that universal love, that interconnectionness, has always been there. And if you go looking for it, it's going to find you because it's looking for you too as well. And once you understand that you are worthy of receiving love, and to know that once you start developing stronger boundaries around people who will just take from you, and know that you're worthy of that amazing thing, then you're going to have more energy because you're filled up on such a level that giving is there's no longer a deficit to the energy, because you're just flowing with, like you say, the Tao on a consistent level. There is no separation between you and the divine. So there is no gap, there is no deficit to this love and this energy. But you have to allow yourself to fill yourself up with that. And that's one of the big lessons. I've even had to learn that. I'm still learning that, to accept that and to know that I'm worthy of love just for being yourself. And that's the thing, because you always had to be somebody else, do something else for someone or other in order to receive love. And that's bullshit.
So
And
how do you change that? How do you change the cycle? Is that you become what it is that you wanted. You become love, you give love. But that also includes loving yourself. And the number one thing in my clinic is people come in and they don't love. The core is always they don't love themselves enough. It's always that. They don't think that they should deserve to heal. They don't think that they should deserve to have a good mate, that they should deserve to be loved because someone somewhere in their life told them that they were a failure, that they shouldn't be heard, all of these things. And just letting go, as you said, letting go of that story and just letting my Shifu would always say that you are perfect. You are perfect just as you are. I can hear him saying that right now. It's so beautiful. And if everybody could just understand that, everybody is perfect in their own way. And there's parts of us we don't like. There's parts of us we wish we hadn't done that, or we wish we'd done things differently, or we shouldn't be angry. But you have to welcome those. You have to love that part of you too. Just accept yourself as you are, because
yeah,
you are you.
so true.
So you're going through cancer, you went through the treatments, and I imagine that just kicked the shit out of you, you know,
that's
and
a polite way of saying it. Yeah, it fucking did. Like literally, the treatment almost killed me. And I
yeah,
had to say that. Yeah.
that's what it's supposed to do, right? And so how did you get the courage to come back again? Because you had like cancer that affected your throat, right?
Yeah. So I had cancer a few places. So yeah, so it was the back of the throat. I had in the neck and then in my lymph nodes. So the lymph system, that's where they started panicking. But also I had a spot on my lung too as well,
Mm.
which they really didn't talk about too much, because they were more focusing on the throat and stuff like that. And of all places, I mean, I use
That's
my
right.
and that's the kind of the irony of it. If you think about it in a deep philosophical thing, like the one thing that I thought I was expressing, but apparently I wasn't. It was my throat, and my throat chakra, but it was affecting that because it's like the one thing I use to make a living is my voice. But yeah, the treatment was horrific. Yeah, like it literally almost killed me. But part of there was just the one thing, I wasn't really afraid of death because beyond I've been around death a lot in my youth, so it wasn't like a scary thing, but it was the fear of not accomplishing what I came here to do on Earth. That really was my driving force. I knew
So
there was a deep,
you let fear become the thing that propelled you forward.
in some ways, yeah.
It didn't paralyze you. It gave you that drive you needed to push through.
Yeah, it was kind of like, okay, I realized that okay, there you only have a finite time of time on this earth, and you're either going to complete your mission or you don't, and then you're going to have to come back and repeat the cycle of life and death again. And that was kind of in my back of my mind, like, fuck, if I don't finish this, I'm gonna have to come back to this fucking shitty place again. Damn it. I don't want that, man. I'm trying to get all this shit done. And maybe that's the way in the level my soul was thinking. And I came to this idea in my head, like, okay, shit, I need to get shit done. Like I thought I was kind of on my path. And like I said earlier, like, what I thought I was supposed to be doing, the universe has kind of redirected me in something else. Like, and it's more about this speaking to you and about my journey than about helping others on their journey. It's like, it's kind of this weird thing, but
that is helping others.
Yeah, it is helping. It's just a different way of doing it. And it was a driving force in kind of coming back and doing stuff. There was this idea that, okay, I'm going through this, but then there also too, I had to look at it, the diseases, that it could have been a lot worse. It could have been a lot more severe. And there, like, one of the things I've always understood is that whatever situation that you're in, somebody who's always has it 10 times worse. And I always kind of looked at that because every time I went into the clinic for cancer, and there was hundreds of people in this fucking clinic, Tony. It was god awful. I mean, it was amazing that there was all these people to help, but you look at all these people who are in there for cancer treatment, and it was mind-boggling, the amount of people going through that. And I always looked around the people. I know there are a lot of people who had a lot more severe stuff happening than I did. And it kind of made me realize that, okay, yeah, you're going through cancer, but see this guy over here, like, he's missing part of his face. Like right now, like, he's literally missing part of, see that lady over there? She's got a piece of her skull missing and she has all these life tubes sticking out of her. That could be you. So I had to put things in perspective, but I realized that, okay, shit, I need to get shit done. I may not have another 5, 10, 15 years on this earth. So I have to kind of figure out what I need to do. And it was just part about getting back to it. So that was that. And then also too, there was a lot of people that were DMing me at the time going, oh my God, I love your podcast. I love your podcast. I love this. I love that. And it's like, fuck, I can't even speak. Like, how the frick am I going to start doing all this work when I can't even speak, let alone swallow food, taste food, all these other problems I was having. But it was just one of those things that I've always had this, I don't know where this thing is coming from. It was part of my soul, this to help people. I've suffered a lot in my life. That's made me more empathic, have more empathy with people. I understand pain. I understand suffering. I think that's what makes me good at doing my life readings, because I can understand the individual. But there was just this kind of need this driving force that, yeah, I got to do something. I can't wait for life to happen anymore. Like, life is happening to you.
So let me just ask you there, interrupt you. So often we're doing something and something happens to us, life, it might be physical, it might be emotional, but it doesn't allow us to keep using the same tools. And so it forces us to sort of think outside the box. So here you are, you've been hit with cancer in the throat, which is your main tool. So what did you do? How did you pivot? What did you do? What was your thought process?
Okay, well, it's just a lot of, very barely conversations, but it was just having an understanding about the disease and where it was located. And it wasn't going to be much as my vocal box, but I had to just retrain my mouth, my throat, everything. It's like any athlete having an injury and getting rehabbed and going back in the game. And that's what I had to look at it because of my background in health and fitness. Yeah, I had that mentality. Like I looked at this and I've told people this. This was the perfect time for me to have cancer because all the life lessons and everything I've learned up to this point is what helped me navigate my disease and my treatment and how to get me back into it. So I it was basically retraining because all the muscles that atrophied, everything is swollen, everything like that. So I had to go back into the toolbox and I had to have like people like yourself, acupuncturists, chiropractors, energy work, things like that to help me navigate this sort of thing. And then because I had an understanding of physiology and anatomy and things like that, I wasn't going in blind like I didn't understand my body. I had to retrain myself to talk and I had to start using that voice, even though it was terrible. As you can tell, it's still not 100%.
See, no one would know that. To me, it sounds
Yeah,
amazing,
yeah,
powerful.
yeah. But at the same time, like right now, I'm drinking lots of water because all my salivary glands have been destroyed for the radiation.
Hmm.
So it's a constant dry mouth. So people who have you ever had a dry mouth to the extreme, I live with that 24/7. So it's very difficult to speak. Everything in my muscles in my jaw are had atrophied, right? Because the muscles are just disintegrated. So it's like having a cast on that. So all the muscles in my throat, my jaw, I kind of talked like this for the first while because I couldn't open my mouth. Like I had a hard time biting or opening my mouth. Like it was just so difficult. All the muscles in the neck were swollen and again atrophied and things like that. So there was just a lot of swelling. So I had to wait for the swelling to go down. I was doing cryotherapy too as well. So all these different modalities I was using, chiropractics, acupuncture through my treatment, during my treatment, post treatment too as well to recover. I couldn't eat as much because I still had a lot of swelling. I couldn't taste anything. Anything I tried to eat. I couldn't. It was the most awful taste. They call it like chemo mouth or radiation mouth. It tastes like mercury. So like there's a really metallic-y, awful taste. Like I didn't want to taste anything. I didn't want to eat anything too. But I knew that through all these different modalities, and then meditation was a huge thing. Like meditation,
Hmm.
constantly going into and sitting down, relaxing, calming myself down. Yeah, it was just a variety of different things that really kind of helped on. I think I just rambled on. I don't know where I'm going with this
No,
stuff,
I,
but
I love it. There's so many obstacles that came up.
yeah, there
You
was.
faced so many obstacles, and you could have quit at any moment,
Oh, I did
right?
want to quit. I
I know
honestly,
you
Tony.
wanted to, and you could
Oh my
have,
God.
but you
I,
made a
I
choice. We always
yeah,
have choices. We feel like
yeah.
victims. We feel like we're stuck. We feel like we have no options, but we always have choices.
Yeah,
And
I remember the day. I remember the exact day. I remember the exact week where I thought, "Fuck it." I basically said to myself, "Okay, God, I'm ready to go. I'm done. I'm ready to go." The pain was too bad. I was at my weakest. I was at my sickest. I I was down. I was down 35 pounds. I could barely walk. Yeah, it was just like the most god awful experience. And I just remember the time. And it was funny. I always laugh about this. And I had a conversation with another lady I had on my podcast. And, we're talking about signs and synchronicities. And for some reason, my phone turned on because I was just basically on my couch. I basically went from
mhm.
couch to the washroom. Those are the two areas I went in my house. I didn't even go to sleep in my bed most of the time because I couldn't be bothered getting up and doing that. But there was a time where the universe kind of stepped in and this message came across my phone, and I always kind of laugh about it. And it was a gentleman named David Goggins of all people.
I know him.
And
Yeah.
yeah, so a lot of people who, if you're listening to this, David is an extreme amazing human individual, right? Who just does these extremely amazing extraordinary things. He's a very good motivational talker at the same time, and some of his messages are not for everybody, but for me, I kind of get where he was going through. And he talked about, and I had read his book too as well. He talked about the what if principle. And it really kind of reframed that because I didn't want to take any more chemotherapy. I didn't want to do any more radiation therapy. And he kind of came across, and it was just funny that it opened up. It was like it opened up. There he is on Instagram, and he talked about the what if principle. And it's like, what if? What if I could say to myself, if I can get through the next minute and break it down? What if I can get through the next hour? what if? What if I can get through the next day? What if? What if I can get through the next treatment? What if? And it kind of reminded me, like when he would talk about, because he's a former Navy SEAL, and they talk about BUDS training. So, and BUDS is like the really extreme, trials that they do to weed out the really weak people. And a lot of people don't even make it through the first day. And I think it's like they call it Hell Week. And it's just like 24 hours of pure hell. And that's what it felt like. It literally felt like I was going through Navy SEAL Hell Week, but it was cancer treatment and cancer therapy. And it just kind of stuck to me. Something kind of made sense to it. It's like, okay, I don't have to, because I was thinking about the N word, because the N treatment of it. I was looking at it as, okay, I have 4 more weeks of this, 4 more fucking weeks of radiation. And I thought, there's no way my body's going to last that. There's no way I'm going to make it through the chemotherapy, because the chemo was like, it was the harshest thing. Like, because having one and then the other, but having 2 at the same time, it's not really good for the body. And I just thought, there's no way. And then I just reframed that, and I heard that, and it's like, okay, a little light bulb came into my mind and says, okay, I just have to get through the next day. I just have to get through the next 24 hours. Am I going to die in the next 24 hours? And then I just reframed it, and I just got it. No fucking way I'm going to die in 24 hours. Okay. All right. So reframe it. Okay. I've made it through 3 weeks of this already. All I have to do is make it through one day. Each day, I just had to break it down onto those levels. And so it wasn't as traumatic at that. But there was a time I said, God, take me awake. I didn't want to wake up. I literally didn't want to wake up. I was lying on the floor. I said, I don't want to wake up. And I just said, okay, I'm done. I'd lived my life. Just make me fall asleep and not wake up. And it was that time, man. But the universe had bigger plans for me. So
you hit the rock bottom.
Yeah.
And I've heard this from many people.
Sure.
They hit rock bottom and just something happened. And the what if principle, I know that when I was down and out and I thought I was dying, and I thought if I could just ride my mountain bike one more time, that was really what gave me the hope, even though it seemed far-fetched. That gave me the hope. And then this summer I was riding my mountain bike up at Blue Mountain. Like, it was freaking amazing. Like, wow.
Yeah, I saw those posts. Yeah. Blue Mountain's a beautiful area.
Pretty wild. So you've gone through the ringer and you're back. How do you view life differently? Like, as we wrap up, like, how do you view life differently?
I'm still trying to figure it out, to be honest with you. Everything's still pretty fresh. It's been almost a year since treatment, but you're still under the guise of, you're always going to the hospital. You're always getting tested, right? I haven't got my all clear yet from the doctors, right? So there's a little bit of that. It's just always evolving. Life sucks sometimes. It's how you manage it. We're only here in a short period of time. Maximize the most of it. Cherish your relationships, build strong relationships, because those relationships are going to help you through the dark times. Find quality relationships. If the ones that are around you are not quality, go look for some, build some, develop some. Look at yourself introspectively. Look at healing yourself on all levels: physical, mental, emotionally, spiritually. Do your work. Like, become a better human being. Don't worry about the person next to you or the one that lives next to you. Look at yourself. Really start doing that inner work and be free of those past limiting beliefs and emotions, to free yourself from those past things. Enjoy. One of the things I know, enjoy food. Because one of the things I learned is, when you don't have the ability to eat food becomes such a luxury. Enjoy every morsel, every bite. Enjoy the food that your friends and family make for you. There's something about that. Knowing that you're not.
I'm doing intermittent fasting again. I did that earlier in the year and it was amazing, but today's day 2. And, after 16 hours of not eating, the salad just tastes so vibrant. It's amazing. Yeah. So getting into your appreciation of food.
Yeah, just start appreciating the small little things. We always look at, the macro instead of the micro, the small little things. Be kind to yourself. Like, really be kind to yourself and love yourself no matter what happens in your life. Don't really keep reliving the past. Stay present with yourself. Learn learn things about yourself, take courses, expand yourself, treat others as you would be treated. Just show some kindness to yourself, but show kindness to others too as well. There's an epidemic of hate and violence in this world right now. We got to just show a little bit of kindness to each other. Patience is another thing. When I struggle with, anybody who lives in a big city knows that, especially if you drive. Just be patient with that. Be patient with yourself too as well. It is a learning process. Go looking for the divine in yourself. Go look for the divine, because the divine has been looking for you ever since you reincarnated on this earth. So go look for it. It's there waiting for you. Yeah, those are just some of the basic things. I'm still trying to figure it out. There's a lot of lessons I'm still trying to figure out with everything happening my own direction in life, but I just know going forward is better than going backwards.
Life is a journey, right?
Yeah.
And you never reach the destination, and it doesn't matter. As you said, it's just learning. I tell you, I think you're a hero.
Thanks, man.
No, I do.
Well, I can say the same thing for you too, as well, my friend. So I firmly appreciate all that you're doing and what you're putting out there too, as well. I mean, you've helped so many people with, teaching Reiki. I still think, like I said on an earlier podcast that we were on, it's like, man, I love seeing, like, there's going to be like the whole Hamilton area. They're all going to be Reiki masters by the time you're done with that area. So, which
the world
is
needs
cool.
more Reiki, baby. The world needs more Reiki. But so thank you so much for sharing. When I was reaching out to you, I didn't know what your answer would be. I didn't know if you'd be up to talking about it. I had no idea, but I wanted to find out. And I so appreciate you coming and taking the time. I thought your voice was amazing. It held out, very strong. And I can tell why people get the amazing results that they do when they go in to work with you. How can people reach you? And I'll also put links in the comments or whatever, but how can people reach you?
Yeah, I'm on Facebook too as well. You can just type in Michael Philpott. I'm on Instagram, the Metaphysical guy. You can look for that too as well. You can find me on my email. Most times I don't have a website, just feel no need. I just do everything through social media. I got a YouTube page. You can follow the podcast on Spotify and Apple too as well. It's there. Yeah. So yeah, you can have my email. It'll be on the bottom there if you want to connect for reading, stuff like that. But yeah, just check out my social media pages on Instagram and Facebook, and you can find out all the details, all the stuff that I do. And yeah, that's where I am.
There's so much help out there, people. There's so much alternative health help, so many different types of practices and practitioners that have huge hearts. And we need to heal. You need to feed your body. You need to drink water. You need to exercise. You need to breathe. But you also need to experience all these different things. So I would recommend that if you feel lost or anything, if you feel a connection with Michael from this, like, reach out to him. And as you heard, we could have done a 10-hour podcast on the nuggets of wisdom that he was dropping. If I'd said, expand that one, Michael. Anyway.
Yeah. There's lots of different meanings. Like, I mean, there's so much great things. That's one thing I loved about doing the podcast, because I had an opportunity to talk to people, and I can basically, so if I don't have the answers, I know somebody who might have the answers for you. And a lot of times the readings are very much a way of dictating people to get them to the right people. So if I don't have the answers, like, I don't teach Reiki anymore, but if Reiki was part of your life journey, of course, I'm going to, if they're in the Hamilton area, I'm definitely going to basically say, hey, you go see my buddy Tony. If they need acupuncture, you're in that area too as well. So there's all these different practitioners and things around the world that, if you're looking for that, certain things will resonate, some things won't, and be like, fuck Reiki, I don't want to do Reiki. But they may go, well, I have this interest in acupuncture. Maybe I should talk to Tony about what acupuncture is all about, or somebody else, right? So there's always people out there who are willing to help you out. So even though if I'm not available, we'll get you in the right direction.
I'll just end up, like, just open yourself.
Yeah.
Okay. I would never have tried Reiki unless I had been down at the lowest point of my life. I would have laughed at it before. Don't let that happen to you. Take care of yourself. Like, try all sorts of different stuff, and you're going to find out what you connect with. So thank you so much for your time, Michael. You are amazing. I love you, brother. I love you, brother. All right, look for him on Spotify and YouTube, and he's very famous. All right.
No, I'm not.
Okay. Peace.